Jordan Love it's an interesting case. We talked about this a little bit. You know, it's different now than when Rodgers was drafted. It's much different than when Brett Favre was drafted by the Falcons in '91 and was traded by by Ron Wolf and did his thing. He was a backup to Don Majkowski. People forget that before he was even the starter. The Packers have to decide after this season whether or not to exercise Jordan Love's rookie fifth-year option, which is it's not an extreme amount of money because he hasn't done anything yet, but it's not an insignificant amount of money. Aaron Rodgers, I believe with a trade post June 1, would be a $40 million dead cap hit, which is a lot, but it's a lot better than like cutting him. And I think if he retires, it's about that as well. What do they do here? Because Rodgers just doesn't. I mean, he looks like he's got injuries. It looks like he's getting a little older. The talent there, and I think he's the most talented quarterback of all time, is just simply like eroding a little bit. What should Green Bay do? Because they're in a tough spot.
Let me just first start. Guys, there's so much to say about this. The quarterback situation and the big dollars put into these guys and the decisions that are being made. I'm talking Denver, of course, talking Indy, talking Philly, whatever that may be. These are creating massive headaches for the team builders, i.e. general managers. This is a big, big deal. This wasn't just making these moves at, $8 and $9 million. I mean, these are big money deals that are potentially crippling the organizations if they don't work out. If I'm not saying we could go on and opine about Denver, and I love George Payton. That's a tricky situation right now with Russell, right? I mean, it's a tricky ass situation. Excuse my language. I get excited about it. Going back to Green Bay, personally, and I don't claim to know anything about what Brian Gutekunst's doing. I haven't talked to Goody in a couple of years, believe it or not. But what I do look at is, as a general manager, I'm thinking my initial thought on this is, let me get this guy experience. We made the move. It caused a lot of turmoil at one time within the team, within Aaron Rodgers' thought process. There was a lot of stuff going on. We finally have an opportunity to watch him. Let's watch him closely. Let's showcase him enough. My head goes ultimately to trade, of course, because how in the hell are you going to make that trade? I'm not talking trading Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking trading the young guy. He's not even young anymore, right? I'm talking about how do you have to look at that and see, are there going to be any suitors here, first of all, before you start making decisions? I personally think Aaron Rodgers is one of the very, very best, idiosyncrasies aside, because I know there's half of us that probably agitate with him beyond, other half. Like when you talk to some of those fired up Green Bay fans, it's amazing. I have a guy at a motorcycle shop that I deal with. He's a tried and true Packer guy. I've never heard the invective laid down on a player like he did with Aaron Rodgers. It's amazing. That said, I just think you have to look and see what you're doing with Jordan Love. You have to see what's out there for him potentially before you make any strong decisions. Because again, I really think Aaron Rodgers, get him healthy, get his head in the right spot. What's he have? 2 more years on top of this? Or
I think it's 3 after this.
3 more. And I thought the number was if they cut him outright, which is asinine, they wouldn't do that. Is it almost $100 million?
I think it's over $100 million if they cut him outright. I think that there's post June 1 stuff that they can do to spread it out. But you're like, and by the way, I taught at Wisconsin. I taught at Wisconsin lacrosse. That's where Brian Gutekunst went to college. So like I feel a little bit of a connection with him. My wife's a Packers fan, so I've seen exactly sort of what you've seen as well as far as the animosity. And there was Brett Favre was the same way. Like it has not been necessarily all that clean, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously drafting Jordan Love gave everybody Aaron Rodgers being drafted in 05 vibes and stuff. So I can see where it all comes from. But I think I agree with you. I think if Rodgers wants to play, you're talking about a guy who, I mean, you saw it. He has a broken thumb. He has bad ribs. Like, he's broken down a little bit, and you can come back and be better. The other thing, and I think that this is big about Jordan Love and why you want to play him. You saw it on Sunday, why the Packers wanted him. And I was somebody, when I was at PFF, I did not like Jordan Love's data. In fact, I wrote an article. If you can go look it up, you can see my receipts. But I wrote, I don't think Jordan Love is worth a first-round pick. But you saw why he was taken in the first round on Sunday. That guy has movement skills. That guy has a cannon for an arm. He looks like he was quick with his decisions Sunday. And like that looked like a guy when you saw, and I don't know if you remember this game, but there was a Thursday night football game in 2007 when the Packers, who that year were the 2 seed in the NFC, went on the road to face the 1 seed, the Dallas Cowboys, on a Thursday night. I think it was Brian Gumbel and somebody else calling the game. And Favre got hurt, and Rodgers came in and looked like who he was going to be. And like, we got one glimpse of Rodgers, and that was enough for Green Bay in many ways. Like, Jordan Love, when he plays this year, he's going to give some team the feels, right? He's a different athlete than kind of the traditional drop back guy. He's got athleticism. He's got a great arm. And whether or not he's good, I think you want to put him out there and show people that you're dealing with kind of that. And again, this is heavy handed, but a Josh Allen type athlete / arm talent. And because some team's going to buy into that. And I know Zach put up a question here. What's his trade value round 2? Like, if you can get a second rounder for him, you do it, I think.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, everything you're saying is right. It's fun to watch him move around. It was excited to see that first series that or whatever, as we were watching the game. Now, remember, Jordan Love, when he came out, we're not talking about leadership here. There's a difference in a leader, whether you love or like, Aaron Rodgers or not, just his personality. He is a leader. He knows how to lead. There were questions when Jordan was coming out whether he was that true leader. There were, and that can factor in. It's not factoring in right now. But again, when the crap hits the fan, you want your leader to step up. If you're thinking about what is in the future of this organization, again, that's back on Brian Gutekunst. There's a lot on him that way. They made a strong decision on this, and back on him, meaning I'm not throwing a cautionary dart, but I am saying, like, that's a big thing for a GM to make a decision. Who's going to be the heir apparent when Aaron leaves? They decided to keep Aaron here, of course, right? So I'll just be interested to see how the leadership plays it in if he has to take the helm for the rest of the season.